Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that the video is going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine, as you can see. Kisumu is fantastic, and maybe you could also let me know where you are watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, politics is a very interesting game, but politics is also a very dirty game. Today, the government of Kenya played dirty on agencies, but the government of Kenya failed one thing. They failed to realize that they are dealing with a totally different generation, a woke generation. There's a post I made earlier today on my Facebook page. Let me read for you that post, because I made that post after seeing several vehicles burning during the Gen Z protest today in town. In Nairobi. This is the post I made. In fact, in that post, I just offered unsolicited advice to the government of Kenya, because this generation is not the older generation. This is what I posted. The outdated tactic of burning cars to portray protest as violent no longer works. It may have fooled Gen Z's grandparents, but it won't fool Gen Z's. The government now needs to find a smarter way to handle this protest. One option, this is now my advice, one option could be organizing massive after-party events for the Gen Z's in the evening. Or simply ensuring protesters have access to water during demonstrations. So I was just trying to imagine that what if the government allowed this protest to just proceed. Then at the end of the day, during the evening, then they organize a bash after party for the Gen Z's. My thinking is that the Gen Z's might buy that idea. They'll just party, then they go home. Or alternatively, during this protest, instead of firing tear gas, trying to burn cars, the government can offer water, branded waters, to these protesters. Police wakuwe na maji zao huko, protesters huko wakimbizane tu. I normally see that happening a lot here in Kisumu, where when during protest police wanakuja, raia wanaenda, then inakuanga hivyo, then at the evening tear gas hivi, then people calls it a day. But the government of Kenya today decided, in my view, to ban several vehicles, 2 or 3 of them. And I'm saying the government of Kenya because this generation went ahead and shared the evidence. Let me take you to a post by our only one, Cyprian Nyakundi. This is what Nyakundi posted a few hours ago. The burning of vehicles today in the Nairobi CBD is part of a coordinated state operation meant to discredit the peaceful protests demanding justice for Albert Ojwang. This was not the work of genuine protesters. The number plates on the burnt vehicles have been verified and found to be fraudulent. The agencies were very quick. Plate number KAR 936D was deleted from NTSA system back in 2017. It originally belonged to a 206 Isuzu lorry. Plate KBR 954G was removed from records in 2020 and was previously assigned to Analoki Line 14-seater Matatu. These vehicles were planted and torched to create a false narrative. These vehicles were planted and torched to create a false narrative of chaos. It's a desperate attempt by the state to shift attention away from the real issue, Albert Ojwang's murder, and paint protesters as violent. Don't fall for it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to understand that these Gen Z's are a different breed, they even captured evidence. I want you guys to watch this clip keenly and tell me 1 or 2 things which you have observed.
We tulia. Acha mbwembwe, tulia. Umechomwa bro, gari yenyewe.
What have you observed? Two things you've observed from that clip. Let me play it again and now pay very close attention.
We tulia, acha mbwembwe, tulia. Umechomwa bro, gari yenyewe.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you paid very close attention and you observed that clip very keenly, you will notice three things. Of course, for me, I observed those three things. The first thing I noted was that there was a gentleman there with a jerry can. There's a gentleman there with a jerry can. We are talking of a protest where young people are, where tear gas are being thrown, but a gentleman is carrying a jerry can. That jerry can probably had petrol, and that is exactly what was used to torch those vehicles. Who is that guy? Because the protesters, the usual protesters, would not have allowed that. We know the usual protesters, how they behave, how they react. Then the second thing I observed, and I also want you guys to watch the clip again, is that there is a gentleman there with gunia. What was he carrying in that gunia? You can say this was a chokora. There was no chokora there. That gentleman there was on a mission. What was he carrying in that gunia? Gen Zs captured this video where they burnt that car. Again, there was another place where some actions also took place. Again, the gentleman with gunia could still be seen. I want you to watch this clip again. Pay very close attention. This is another totally different location. The guy still with his gunia. And that's another place where chaos was witnessed. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that that guy with gunia and that guy with jerry can were people on a mission. Who are they? Were they chokoras because they were appearing as if they are chokoras? Or are they undercover? The third thing you should have noted, especially when these guys were trying to burn this car in court, you could hear some people talking from the background. Listen to what they're trying to say.
We tulia. Acha mbwembwe, tulia.
Kenyans are smart enough. The question is, how long did it take for the police to respond? Because there were these two vehicles. There's a gentleman there with the jerry can. There were these gentlemen trying to burn this car. We know the streets of Nairobi during Mandamanos. Amongst these people, there were several plainclothes officers. If it were an ordinary demonstrator, some of them would have been captured, or at least a tear gas would have been fired. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest question now is, what was the objective of burning those cars? That's exactly what I want us to analyze in this video. Before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've subscribed. If you have not, please do it right away. But you can also support this channel through sharing the video. And of course, I have my Ligang who always play the way they play. They know how they play using that particular number. I'll be waiting for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, the first objective was to try and link these demonstrations to external forces. Let us be clear. Attempts are being made to link these demonstrations to Rigathi Gachagua. Albert Ojwang, who was murdered, is a Luo. And pro-government people have been trying to advance a narrative that the Kikuyu nation, through Gachagua, should not be mourning this guy more than the Luos. That the Luos should know how to mourn their own. So a link is being created. Someone is trying to create a link that, you know, these demonstrations are now no longer about Albert. They are about politics. Good news for the Gen Zs, they were able to capture some of these things. Number two, and this is the main objective, is to try and portray the demonstrations as violent. And why would someone want to portray these demonstrations as violent? Because these Kenyans just went to the police station. Some of them were trying to go to parliament where everybody was reading the budget, and the intention was just to express solidarity with Albert Ojwang. The truth is, someone is trying to justify why the police is actually, or why the police are using excessive force. Because to an outsider, demonstrators burning cars on the streets of Nairobi, that's serious. Yeah? So someone somewhere wants to justify the need to apply force. Number three, and this worked some times back in 2017. It will not work this time around. Someone is trying to incite the public against demonstrators. In 2017, during some demonstrations along Ngong Road, on that day I was in Nairobi. I think we were around somewhere around CBD. Another vehicle was also burnt there. But from nowhere, a matatu full of people came and it was stopped. Everybody in that vehicle were told to get out of the car. That matatu was touched. And Kenyans were like, why would ODM, or was it NASA at that time, do whatever they did? Kenyans were angry with those demonstrations. The public were very bitter. Until after the handshake between Raila and Uhuru, when Sonko revealed that indeed it was their work. ODM had nothing to do with the burning of that vehicle.
Sahi tumeona deep state na system wameanza kuchoma magari, isemekane ni mahasla wanachoma magari. Mimi nataka kutoboa niseme hivi. 2017 wakati kulikuwa na maandamano ya ODM, mimi na Kibicho na deep state wale wengine na system tuliwenda kuprint t-shirts za ODM, tukanunua magari second hand kwa mashowroom, tukazichoma huko Ngong Road, ionekane ni ODM, kumbe ni deep state na system. Muache kuharibia Hustler Nation.
That is exactly the intention today. Public sympathy. So that public could feel, kumbe these demonstrations, magari za watu wamefanya nini? The bad news for them is that the Gen Zs were quick enough and they've even identified the owners of those two cars. And they are even sharing their numbers. One of them they are alleging is a police officer who is based at State House. Ladies and gentlemen, the third reason is international politics. You see, William Ruto won the presidency and Raila Odinga lost. And I've always explained on this platform that the reason why Raila Odinga was never declared the president of the Republic of Kenya was because of the external force from the US government and the British government. When Albert Ojwang was murdered, the United States of America issued a statement. You don't know what they are telling the government outside the camera, but they are very angry with William Ruto. So William Ruto must try to justify through the government, and they are very angry with William Ruto's government because they had hopes in the government. So the government must now try and justify why other things are happening. And lastly, there's an objective of demonizing these demonstrations. Someone is out to portray the demonstrations as something else other than Albert Ojwang's murder. Because the demonstrations were really for Albert Ojwang's murder. Then why ban cars? So it means the objective is different. And that's exactly what the government was trying to do, to demonize those demonstrations. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed your analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed this analysis. Until next time, this is Makwiny. If you watch the video up to this stage, please in the comment section just type present. I'll respond personally in the next 1 hour, 2 hours. And again, tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'll continue responding personally to those who have watched the video up to this stage. And I'll appreciate. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.